Hello everybody and welcome to the CEM Year 5 lesson for Block 3. Now this is obviously the first week, and in this lesson we'll be covering both of the new topics, verbal reasoning and non-verbal reasoning. And these are of course topics that we've come back to, or we're coming back to now, because we visited them for the first time in Block 1. In terms of what's changing, the difficulty's gone up a little bit. We're going to be working on some harder words for our verbal reasoning and different styles of puzzle and different question types in the non-verbal, although for both many of the same skills and techniques are going to apply, so keep an eye out for that. We're going to be starting with verbal reasoning, as you can see here up on the screen, but then we will afterwards go into the non-verbal reasoning, where we'll be looking at some of the 3D shape style questions. So this is the verbal reasoning plan. Again, actually, we're just looking at sort of almost identical questions types to the ones we did in the first block. However, we're going up a level in difficulty, so when we're looking at the synonyms and antonyms that we're doing over the next few blocks, the words we're going to be using is really difficult. And I'll mention this, well, I might as well mention it now. One of the big goals of this entire block, and certainly of this week, is to expand our vocabulary. So we are going to be going through a load of new words, a swathe of them. And it's really important to me that the number one goal is not that you're working to time. It's not that you're trying to get amazing scores. It's that you're taking the words you don't know and you're please writing them down and really making an effort to learn them. That is going to be the most useful thing. So this word and meaning book, so important for this next lesson. It really is the number one goal, to expand our vocabulary, because that's what's going to allow us to access the questions for verbal reasoning. Certainly for this type of verbal reasoning question, the synonym questions, what's going to set you up is your vocab. It's not so much the technique. It's not hard to work out what you need. What's hard is, do you know what the word and meaning book is? Very binary, yes or no. Now, speaking of learning words, one of the big things, of course, is to finish off the spellings from our last block. So obviously we had a week 6 set of spellings that we didn't get a chance to test from last week, so we're going to do that now. This being the new block means you'll have been given brand new books and a brand new spelling test, and those are, of course, to be learned for next week. But for now, let's just finish off one last time. Just in case you don't have it, I'll show you very quickly. Look here. So here's test 6. These are the words ending in FER. Of course, if you need to quickly revise them, pause the video. Otherwise, I'm going to hide those up now and read the spellings. Remember, the way I do this is I'll read each of the words twice. I'll try and put the word in a sentence the first time, and then from there, just repeat the word. I recommend listening to the sentence because it gives you some context and can also help you work out what the word means, which, as I just mentioned, is really important. Right, let's begin. Number 1. I have a preference for dark chocolate. Number 1, preference. Number 2, I'm going to make an offering to try and appease the gods of the 11 plus. Number 2, offering. Number 3, in the last block, we were doing some comprehension questions and I inferred the answer to them. The word is inferred, which means to puzzle out or to work out. Number 4, I attended a teachers' conference where the teachers came together and had a chat about the best lessons. Number 4 is conference. Number 5, the past tense of transfer. I transferred some funds. Number 5, transferred. You can also say you transferred from one class to another. Number 6, again, past tense of refer. I referred someone to a specialist. If someone asks for some help with Spanish, I referred them to a Spanish specialist. Number 6 was referred. Number 7, the referee was impartial during the football match. So the referee was impartial during the football match. So referee like an umpire. Number 8, you don't always get your preferred choice in life. So it's important to have a positive outlook. So the number 8, preferred. You may have a preferred option. Number 9, there was a student who was transferring from one class to another. So this is now the present tense, the act of transferring. The word is transferring. And number 10, before the team gave their answer in the quiz, they conferred. Number 10, conferred. Which means a talk before or come to a conclusion beforehand. So those are your words. Again, the difficulty is going up a little bit, and this will be the case with all the words we learn in this block. Of course, by means go back and rewatch the video if you missed any, but let me just put them up on the screen now. Here are your answers, and give those a mark for me. And again, really important, I think in particular, conference and conferring, or to confer, to conferred, difficult words. Again, a conference is where people get grouped together and and talk and discuss things. So if you confer with someone, or if you did confer, so if you conferred, it means you spoke, you worked together as a team, you chatted. To infer, we should all know what inferring is now based on the English comprehension we did in that section. That's to work out, to puzzle out using logic and reasoning. We've had lots of practice during that, but some tough words in there. Anyway, give yourself a score out of 10, and we'll move on. So, as I mentioned, we'd normally now in the lesson play a game of synonyms. This is a game that requires normally a couple of people to play, although you can still set yourself a challenge. The way this works, and this is a lovely thing to do in the car with mum and dad, just to help expand your vocabulary. It's a lovely way of practicing. The game is very simple. All you do is you take it in turns. You pick a topic, so you pick a word. So you might pick, for example, small. Here's a word. And then you take it in turns to list as many words as you can. And if you're doing it with two players like mum and dad, you might take it in turns. So I say a word, you say a word, I say a word. And of course, the winner is the person who can keep coming up with a new synonym. And the person who loses out is one who can no longer think of a new answer or repeats an old one. And that's a lovely way to practice synonyms. And the way I'd do it is I'd play a couple of rounds, and the person who loses picks the new root word. So for example, you might start with small, and then you go on to small, tiny, etc. until somebody loses. And then the loser says, right, well, now we're going to try and do synonyms for big. And then you keep going back and forth. So huge, humongous, colossal, keep going back and forth. And then eventually someone loses. So that person says, right, let's do synonyms for quick. So we do fast, rapid, I dashed. And that way you can play a couple of rounds. You get a point each time. Maybe it's the first to 3 points or 5 points, sort of depending on the amount of time you're playing or the length of the journey. What I'm going to ask for you guys at home is, because obviously you need to do it with me now, is I'm going to just set you a challenge. So I think for small, you should be able to find at least 8, maybe more, synonyms for small. So I'm going to ask you to pause the video here, take as long as you need. If you want an estimate, I'd say maybe 3 or 4 minutes to try and list out on a piece of paper as many synonyms for small that you can think of. And once you've done that, we'll check. And I think you can say you have a score. If you manage to beat 8, amazing. If you manage to beat 10, incredible. And if you manage to get any of the same synonyms that I have, you can give yourself a bonus point for each of those. So again, pause the video here and then we'll go through. So welcome back. Hopefully you've written down a couple of these. Let's reveal some potential options that you could have done. Ready? Well, you could have little, short, miniature, meager, minuscule, tiny, and slight. These would be all great words for small. But you could also have petite, scanty, runty, micro, microscopic, wee. I'd also accept weeny, puny, minute, and modest. Look how many words there are. And this is why these games are so fun, because you're always coming up with words. And for example, you might think of microscopic, and that might then give you micro, which might then lead you to mini, which might lead you to minuscule. And so all these words, they connect, and you can build up these amazing webs of words. And it's a fantastic way of learning. So again, that was the small. Let's do one more, see if you can beat it. I want now synonyms for big. And I think 10 is the score to get A for here. I want to see if you can come up with 10 synonyms, 10 words that mean the same as big. I know we did some of these in the last block. Again, same, if you can beat 10, well done. You should be able to, I think, list out at least 6 or 7. But again, bonus points if your words match mine. But also, if you're thinking of words that mean the same that aren't on my list, incredibly well done. So pause the video here, list them out, and come back when you're ready to check your answers against mine. Okay, welcome back. Let's reveal some answers. So big, you could have burly. Big and burly. Great word, burly. Enormous. Massive. Prodigious. Something of prodigious size. Mammoth. And similar to mammoth, and it might come up later, any words that are for things that are big, so elephantine, whale-like, giant is an obvious one. All words for things that are big tend to also mean big, which is interesting. Whopping. Copious. Oversize or oversized. Substantial. Great. Colossal. Sizable. Immense. Huge. Gigantic. And bulky. But again, there are more words that I can think of here. Again, I'm just basing it off words. So titanic, like a titan, very similar to a giant, like a gigantic, like a giant. Titanic comes to mind. Mountainous, because obviously mountains are large. All sorts of words. So big is a fantastic one, and big is normally where I start with the synonyms games actually, because there's so many. You can go back and forth a great number of times, and it's really fun. But very well done. Some great words here. In particular, ones I'd add to your list that you might not have seen before. Burly, if you're big and burly, often men being described as big, strong men, they're burly. Copious, which means lots of. Colossal is great, and along with Titanic. Prodigious, if something is prodigious, it means a big event, exciting event. Some great words, but again, or bulky as well. Someone's got lots of bulk, there's lots of mass to them, there's lots of size to them. Some brilliant words there. But again, any you don't know, add them down, add them to your word and meaning book. Hopefully there's a few there that you've learned that are new. And maybe you can try this out with a game with mum and dad later today. That'd be really exciting. And now you've seen this, you've got a bit of an advantage going in, which is really fun. Now again, there's loads of these we can do. Synonyms for slow, synonyms for jump, synonyms for rich. It's worth just going through. Let's do a quick fire round. Let's do a minute on each, just again, because the number one thing we've been doing is learning words. So synonyms for slow, pause the video, do a minute, see how many you can learn. Welcome back, let's go through them. So synonyms for slow could be sluggish, gradual, leisurely, delayed, hinder, moderate. Or we could have all of these. This is a bit of a spoiler. I bet you're thinking sort of 5 or 6. You'll see why I didn't give you an infinite amount of time. But all of these words could mean slow. Look at this. Supine, slothful, snail-like, tortoise-like, creeping, dawdling, ponderous, lackadaisical, phlegmatic. There are some amazing words here. So again, I'm not going to ask you to try and memorize all of these in one go, but this could be a fantastic resource. It's the kind of thing I might screenshot or take a photo of, pause the video and take a photo, and just try and learn 3 or 4 of these every day, because look how many words there are. It's amazing. So again, if you want to do that now, please feel free to. Again, don't feel the pressure to try and learn them all in one go, but this could be a project to try and over the year learn them all, and you'll be doing so well. You'll have such an advantage. Again, similarly, some words for jump. There's not quite as many for this one as there was for slow, but if you want to pause it for a minute and have a go, please do so. Otherwise, we're going to go through them now. So some great synonyms for jump: jumping, jump out, skip, hop, rush, up, or to jump up. Another great way to differentiate it, you could have bounce, bound, gamble. Love that. Often describes lambs gambling, dogs bounding. There's Tigger bouncing. To leap. Again, a final run. We mentioned rich. So again, not as many, but still a goodly number of words here. So if you want to have a go, you know by now. Pause for a minute, see if you can get a few of these. Otherwise, I'm going to reveal them now. So synonyms you could have: affluent, lush, deep, plentiful, opulent, generally rich people. Or similarly, you could have wealthy, well off, well-to-do, prosperous, rolling in dough, loaded. So some more ways of saying rich. And again, this website, by the way, if you can't see it down the bottom, I should make it large. This is the howtodotherewriting.com. There was this similar one there, which was howtodotherewriting.com, although you can't see it as clearly. So if you want to go to that website, again, I believe they have more of these sort of synonym lists that you can try and learn. So again, that was just a bit of a warm-up to start, but really, this is going to be the focus of our lesson, learning words. And it's something you won't just do by sort of staring at them. You've got to go through that process of playing games, reading from your book, trying to learn them, and it just helps. It's so important. I can't overemphasize enough the fact that vocab is going to be for learning vocab, is going to be a big key to success. So we're looking now going back actually to synonyms. We did synonyms before. The words we're using today are harder, so please be aware. Please don't suddenly feel like that you've forgotten how to do it. We're jumping up in difficulty. We're using a 10 to 11 book rather than a 9 to 10. But this will be the last time the difficulty jumps. So if you can get the hang of these, if you can start getting the same kind of scores you were getting in the last block, sort of 80%, 8 out of 10 kind of thing for these questions, you're going to be in a really good position, really good situation for handling these questions come exam time. Remember, the general strategy is eliminate words that you know are wrong. So if, for example, you're doing synonyms and you spot an antonym, cross it out, eliminate it. Replace the word on the left, the word they gave you, with an easier synonym, because that might come up with an answer. So, for example, if they've given you torpid, that's a toughie, you might instead in your mind be thinking, okay, they mean slow. So can I think of then synonyms for slow? That kind of process is a lot easier. Or that process of simplifying is a lot easier. And then finally, ensure the word fits in the same sentence. What do I mean by that? Well, for example, the sloth moved torpidly, the sloth moved slowly, the sloth moved in a snail-like fashion. All those words would fit in a sentence, so I know they mean the same thing. So that's just a nice little check. And if you can fit the word in the same sentence, you know you've picked the same word. Let's go now put that into practice, those hints. So we're going to the verbal reasoning book for CEM. It should please do check this, say 10 to 11. This is where the difficulty jump has come from. So it's not that we're doing different styles of questions, it's just the words are harder. And if we look here, classic example, closest in meaning, we know of course that means synonyms. So a cup and a mug are essentially the same thing. So they are synonyms. And that's what I'm going to ask from you. So what I'd like you please to turn now to page 12. And the way I recommend doing this is we'll do it sort of chunk by chunk. So you'll notice once you turn to page 12, they come in sections of, I believe, like 7, 6, and 7, something like that, or 7, 6, 7, 5, and 5, some array. And actually, I might as well show you here. Look. So, without showing you the answers, let's just do these 7 together now, and then we'll check the answers, and we'll do it section by section. So, pause the video and come back once you've done those first 7 answers as best you can, and you're ready to run through them with me now. So off you go. Right, guys, welcome back. I'm going to go through the answers. If you've not finished, pause the video, try these first 7 for me on page 12 again. That's page 12 of this book. Let's go through the answers now. So, sizable means immense. It's another way of saying large. Honest means truthful. You tell the truth, you are honest. To waste something is to squander it. If you waste and squander. Number 4, to devour something is to gobble, to eat it up, to gobble. It's like a very greedy way of eating, but to gobble up, stuff your face. Defeat, conquer. You defeat your enemies, you conquer them, you win, you take them over. Number 6, if you're stingy, this at Christmas time is a good story. It's like the story of Scrooge. If you're stingy, you are miserly. It means you don't share. And now that is stingy and miserly is a better synonym for greedy, actually. To depart, finally, is to leave. You depart the building, you leave. Now, again, really important. We've obviously gone through these words. Please, if there are any of these others, you don't know that robust means strong, or you don't know that nibble is to have a small bite. If you don't know that neglect is to not look after, you need to learn these words. And my recommendation for how to use this book is if you don't know a word, rather than going straight to your word and meaning book, which if there's a lot of the words can be quite challenging, My recommendation, because it speeds you up, is actually just in the space underneath. So let's say you didn't know that flee meant run away. You might, under each word you don't know, actually write out a synonym for the word. So flee means run away, and you can do that for every single word in the book. So sturdy, I said, meant strong. You would go through, and this is a lovely way of, you wouldn't necessarily do it now during the lesson, but you could do this later. It's a fantastic holiday activity to go through your books and you could do this certainly for maybe the last block if you're struggling, but go through and can you put a synonym under every word? Because if you can't, well, it means you don't know what they mean, which is a lovely way of targeting what to learn. And I would do that for each of these. And oh my goodness, if you do that, you're going to have such a strong vocabulary by the end of it. You're going to really, really benefit. Right, anyway, there's the 7, there's your answers. Let's push on now to another 7, but again, please do remember, any that you're not sure about, you need to please go back and learn. So here, next 7, off you go, pause the video, come back when you're ready to go through it with me. Okay, I'm going to assume by now you know what you're doing, so we're ready to go through the answers. Number 8, your favourite is the thing that you prefer. So you might have your preferred chocolate, your favourite chocolate. If things are gloomy, it means they're a bit sad and upsetting, so it means here they are dismal. So gloomy and dismal or gloomy weather might be sort of horrible, cold, rainy, dark weather. Number 10, if something starts to droop, like the flowers started to droop, they slump. It would be like they fall over. So we have to talk about flowers drooping when they don't have enough water. It's when they go limp, but I think slump is a better synonym. And again, be careful. One of the tricks they're going to do now is they're going to include 2 words potentially or more that are close, but you have to pick the most similar in meaning. You have to pick the closest. So you can't just see the first word that's even slightly related. You have to think, make a judgment call, which one is best. Number 11, this is a toughie, I think. If something is pale, you would describe it as being wan. That's how you pronounce that, W-A-N, wan, which means pale. So you might have a wan color, or you might look a little wan. And again, it means pale. Number 12, sneaky, sneaky like a fox. If you're having a sneaky glance at something, you might be having a furtive glance. I often describe so if for example you were, well, I don't know, trying to copy someone's homework in class, you might have a furtive glance at their answers. You might cheat, you might have a sneaky little peek. Again, not to be advised, but that's how you'd use the word. Number 13, if something is strange, it's bizarre. Macabre is a word there. We don't pronounce the R, so it's macabre. Tough word. If things are macabre, it means so Halloween decorations are often very macabre. It's sort of like haunted or to do with death or ghosts or scary, I think. Ludicrous is very close to bizarre, but if something is ludicrous, it means it's sort of crazy, unbelievable. 14, rotten, again another tough one. The answer is putrid. Now, corroded, if things corrode, metals corrode, it's the equivalent for rotting, but for inorganic material. So what I mean, like I say, metal. So iron corrodes, but then, I don't know, wood rots. So it's the difference between things that are organic, which is sort of life and organic matter, and inorganic. So corroded is a good word to add to your list. Also, if things erode, it means they rot away, like water erosion is the act of getting things away. And finally, if something perishes, if something alive perishes, that's a synonym for died. But also, if food perishes, it means it goes off. So again, lots of words in here that are really difficult. Populous, meaning lots of people live there. Faint, similar for pale, you have paint or fail. If you eavesdrop, it means you listen in on a conversation. You're eavesdropping, you're listening in. But again, loads of words here to add to your dictionary to try and really learn, please. Right, guys, let's move on to the last page. Again, any words you don't know, use a dictionary, or actually, much faster, use the internet to Google these words so you can be learning them. I don't want you sitting there, spending hours using a dictionary if the internet will get you those words faster, so you can then spend more time actually learning the words. Right, anyway, very quickly, 15 through 20, off you go. Let's get these done. And when you're ready, you can come back. We'll go through the answers together. So if things are safe, they are secure. If things are memorable, worth remembering, they are noteworthy. They're worth making a note of. Memorable, worth memorizing. Noteworthy, worth having a note. And nondescript is a word a lot of people found hard. And actually, the clue is in the word. If it is non-descript, it's not describable. So nondescript is actually the opposite to noteworthy. So if you described someone and he was nondescript, it meant nothing stood out. He didn't have, exciting coloured hair. He wasn't especially tall. He wasn't especially short. He was nondescript. There was no description I could give. Plain. Again, the opposite of memorable. Number 17, if you're childish, you're juvenile. So juvenile, like junior school, means young. The opposite might be senior. Number 18, if you're cunning, a bit like cunning like a fox, you are crafty. And just to be clear, guys, you pronounce this one wily. Like Wile E. Coyote is a sort of very famous cartoon character, and he's meant to be a sort of cunning coyote who I think is trying to chase after and catch Roadrunner. Number 19, if you grow, you develop, and if you're greedy, you're gluttonous. But again, a greedy person might gorge themselves, and a greedy person might end up plump, but gluttonous is by far the closest because a glutton is someone who is greedy. Again, lots of words to learn. Please, like malicious, please do look it up. Malicious in this case means sort of evil, wicked, also evil. Lots of words here you can be learning. And again, don't just focus on the answers because, of course, next time, malicious might be the answer. So if you didn't know what malicious meant, you've got to learn it. You've got to go through that process. So again, I expect many of you to have to pause the video here and go away and learn a lot of words, do some research, use your online dictionaries to get these words and meanings books learnt and copied down. And again, I've seen people's books before where they've written underneath every single one of these words, they've done a synonym. And those are the people who go on to do brilliantly in their exams because they're learning, they're adding to their vocab. So I can't recommend that enough. Okay, we'll do this one a bit more quickly, I think. Closest in meaning. These are harder. Again, it's a bit more if you do and don't know it. But again, in terms of synonyms, thinking to yourself for synonyms of this word that might then link to the answer. So if I was finding, you're searching, you might then finally locate something. Again, it's these word webs. You'd be amazed at how by sometimes thinking about other synonyms can lead you to the one you want. That's my big clue for these. And of course, also please do check your spelling very carefully. And it will always be spelt correctly. I had a few people suggesting that, some of the words could work if they spelt them backwards. That's never the case. It'll always be front to back, nice and simple. And that's the answer. So again, if we look here are the first 7 I want you to go away and do for me, please. Do that for me now. Off you go and come back when you're ready for answers. Okay, welcome back. So let's run through these first 7. So we have clippers, are synonym for scissors. That's a tough one. If you're really keen for something, you're eager. Another word for field would be a meadow. So frolicking in the field, running in the meadow. You pedal your bicycle or you cycle your bicycle. So to pedal is the act of, putting your feet on the pedals and pushing them. If you're a myth or a legend for number 5. A fragment, this was a hard one. A lot of people got really stumped here. A fragment could be just a scrap. It's a piece of something. A fragment could be a piece of something. And again, to fragment is to split in many pieces and could result in scraps of material being left over. Number 7, if you're optimistic, you are hopeful for the future. You are positive. So if you're optimistic, you've got a positive, hopeful outlook. Moving on then. So I'll go back, just pause here if you want to copy those down, but otherwise let's move on to, let's do the next 7. So here they are. So the next 7. Off you go, guys. Come back when you're ready for answers. Pause it now. Again, guys, take as long as you need. That's so important. Let's go through. So number 8. Continue, you may proceed. I like to teach, I like to tutor. Number 10, the act of giving, the act of being generous. Number 11, a type of rain could be drizzle. If you scribble some notes down, you could say that you've scrawled some notes down. The referee, we had referee in our spelling test. The referee, I said, should be impartial. That means they should be neutral or unbiased, not on any one team's side more than the other. They need to be fair. That's another way of thinking about impartial. And finally, if you stare at someone, you gaze at them. To gaze into someone's eyes. And there's a hint, look out for the common suffixes. That's a good clue as to what words might be able to fill in. Again, that's enough time, hopefully. Let's go on now to the last couple. So I think you've got 6 more. And again, guys, take your time. Now with these, obviously, you're not necessarily going to be writing the word out underneath because you've given yourself a synonym, but maybe copying these to your word meaning book once you've done. But let's just quickly finish these beforehand. So pause the video here, guys. And here I go. So ready, 15. Join is to unite. You could join 2 things together. You can unite together. That's what I said. Manchester United is sort of Manchester joined together. Sadness could be grief. If you're suffering from grief, it means you're sad. You complete something. You have the entire amount. So you could say, I ate the complete cake. I ate the entire thing. Number 18, this was a tough one. To twist something could be to wring it. So the best example I can think of is if you ever get a towel wet, you wring it out. You twist it to get all that water, and that is wringing the water out. But that was a tough one, I thought, number 18. Number 19, if you're flexible, you're supple. Great word, supple means bendy, flexible. And finally, if you screech, you squawk. It's another word. So, for example, the bird squeaked and squawked, or screeched and squawked, sorry, screeched and squawked. Right, guys, that's tough, but really well done. We're going to move on now to a separate book, and this is just the last little wrap-up activity. And again, it's more ways of testing you on the same things, testing that vocab skills. And this is using the Bond book, and we're just going to do the first page together, which is page 3. So this book here, and we're looking now together at page 3. And here, oh, that's not what I wanted to do, excuse me. I wanted to take a copy of this book. That's what I wanted. And here, you're just matching the definitions together. So a bit of a match. My advice, if you get stuck, move on. And once you've done all 16 options, you'll then have fewer options left. So hopefully you'll have this sort of 50-50 so you can make an educated guess. For this, I think, guys, there's quite a lot of words here. I would spend at least 5 minutes on this, now. So please do take your time. Please don't rush. And then what we'll do is we'll go through the answers together in just a moment when you are finished. But again, don't rush, take your time. And if you even want to look up some of these words, that's absolutely fine with me because again, it's all about the process of learning new words together now. So again, this is page 3, and I'll see you back here when you're ready for some answers. Okie dokie, hopefully here are some answers, and you can see I've done my lines joined up beautifully. It's a bit of a risk. Can I make it any bigger? Yes, I can without messing the answers up. So here are the answers, so we just quickly run through them. So to twirl is to spin. Bridal is anything to do with a wedding. So the bride, obviously, is one of the important people at the wedding, the bride and groom. Number 7, if you have plaits, that's a type of hair braided. A plank would be, for example, a plank could be one thing. Blank is a missing space. If you're grateful for something, it means you're appreciative. Laundry is obviously sort of clothing or washing. Number 7, if you're powerful, you're strong. Social could be about community or communal. Something is wonderful, it's fantastic, it's really good. If you're selfish, it means you're not generous or not thoughtful. Number 11, if you claim something, you make a statement. So I'm the best is a statement. I'm not sure it's true or not, but we'll see. Number 12, plastic is a type of material, a plastic. Number 13, your uncle is your is your mum or dad's brother. So it's your parents' brother, could be an uncle, be it mum or dad. Number 14, style. Your style could be your fashion, your sense of style. A temple could be, right at the top, a place of worship. So you go to the temple to worship. And finally, to lug something is to carry. So you could say the man was lugging the heavy wood to put in the fireplace or something. So to lug is a type of dragging, pulling. Normally you lug heavy things because you really have to pull hard, heave on them. And the last little section, guys, obviously just these last 2 here. Which of the words have smaller in them, or which have these smaller words specifically in them? And then finally, which of these are synonyms for the words. And again, you're using, I think, the same words as up here. So you should be using the same words again. Again, guys, give yourself 2-3 minutes to work, or well, give yourself as long as it takes. And when you're ready for the answers, unpause the video and we'll go through them together. So are you ready? Here come the answers. Again, please pause it if you've not finished. And here they are. So there's last inside of plastic, 8 in grateful, dry in laundry, rid in bridal, O in powerful, elf in selfish, aim in claim, and in bank. You'll notice how these words were from before. And then here, synonyms for revolve would be twirl, marvelous is wonderful, empty and blank. If you're indebted to someone, you're grateful. You're in their debt, you owe them one, so that means you're obviously very grateful. If someone's authoritative, they are powerful. And finally, if you allege something, you claim. So if you allege something happened, you're making a claim. Okay, everyone, really well done. Obviously, for next week now, just some reminders. That's pretty much the lesson survived. For next week, please learn the week 1 spellings for your new block. It should say block 3 at the top. These are the ones I want you to learn. This is what we'll be testing on next week. And we're now ready to move on to the non-verbal reasoning lesson. If you need to take a brief break, please feel free to quickly go to the loo, pause the video here and come back. Otherwise, we're going to crack on with the lesson. And so here we are, CEM, block 3, week 1, non-verbal reasoning, the second half. Let's go into it. So to start off with, we're just going to talk through some of the practice questions that we've done together. We're looking now much more at 3D style questions. So I'll just talk to you a little bit about some of the mindsets you might want to get into, some of the things you can practice for 3D style questions. And then after that, we'll do some questions together. So the first thing, just to get you into the mindset, what is 3D? Well, it's this style of question where you're looking at quite often cubes, and you're quite often either counting, well, one of the things I'll teach you is you're always counting the number of cubes and you're looking for shapes and features. So to start with, I would just simply ask you guys, how many blocks can you see in total to make up these shapes? That's your first question. How many blocks do you think each of these configurations are made up from? So pause the video here, have a go. You can jot the notes down if you want to, maybe label it sort of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and tell me what you think in terms of the actual distinct numbers of blocks. So I'm going to presume you're ready. You've unpaused the video and you're ready to go. So the first one here, this will be made up of 2 blocks. And you can see this really clearly because this is one continuous line. And here is another. So that would be made up of 2 blocks. This one here will be made of 1, 2, and 3 blocks. Hopefully you can see that there's no way for these two to be connected as one block. Because we'd see the connection. It's sort of missing this square here. That's the bit that's sort of missing out the way. This one here, how many blocks? Again, I think this has to be 3 blocks because you can see we've got this dividing line implying that these two aren't the same. So this here is another, this is another 3 blocker. This shape here, if we looked, there's definitely that one L there, another one there, and again there's that line implying that these are another block, so I think we have another 3 here. And finally we've got this one here, and then 1, 2, 3 to make a total of 4 blocks. So seems a bit simple, hopefully. It's something that you're able to grasp, certainly after explaining. This is going to be one of the most fundamental things that you can learn for being able to handle these 3D questions really easily. And actually, while I've got this on the screen, I'm just going to teach you another skill that I think is quite cool. And that's thinking about the total number of blocks. So this is made up of 2 blocks. How many cubes would it be made up of? Because it's always worth being aware of that too. So here you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cubes. Can you see that? And in fact, since these are all similar variations, you'd have 1 cube there, 1 cube there, there, there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cubes. So you can see there are differences between these two shapes in the number of cubes that make them up. So again, what I'm now doing is I'm sort of in my mind, I'm splitting this up into all the cubes that could possibly make up the shape. So there, hopefully you can see. That's where the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 came from. Yeah, those actual cubes. Another skill that I would like you guys to be able to develop. So working out the total number of blocks. Working out, so when I say blocks, I actually mean like shapes, as if I was playing with building blocks. I want you to be able to work out how many cubes all the blocks are made up from. So that's coming out with my total here. And the other thing I want you to just be aware or hold in your mind is what sort of distinctive features is each block made up from. So for example here, we know it's made up of 2 blocks. How would you describe these two? Well, I'm just going to show you a cool little naming trick that I quite like in terms of saying it verbally if a teacher asked me, but also just saying it to myself. I would say this block here is an L-shaped block, and this block here is an L-shaped block. But there's obviously a difference between the two. So how could you differentiate between them? Well, I would call this a 1, 2, 3L. So this one here is a 3L. And hopefully you can see that because it's made up of 1, 2, 3 cubes. And I would call this one here a 4L block. Why? Because it's made up of 1, 2, 3, 4. So these are things I'm trying to get you familiar with. So 1, how many blocks is my shape made up of? 2, how many cubes is it made up of? And then can I actually sort of name the individual blocks? For example, I don't think we've got one here, but I'm sure if I had a cube that was this shape, you could probably guess. What do you think I would call this kind of block? Well, I'd call that a T shape, or possibly a 1, 2, 3, 4T, because it's made up of 4 cubes. Seems like a trick question, but what, for example, would I call this one here, this shape here? Well, I would just call that a 2, because it's just made up of 2 blocks. If I had 3 in a row, I'd call it a 3, or 4 in a row, I'd call it a 4. And again, if one then sticks out the side, that's where you start having 4 L's and so on and so forth. Now, you're not going to get questions asking you what is this made of as such, but it's really useful to be able to articulate either to someone who's asking you, but also just to yourself, right? I've got a 3 block here and a 2 block there and a 1 block there. And I tend to call these ones or just cubes. So for example, what would we call this? That would be a oneer or a cube. Because if you look, that's just 1 block, 1 block, 1 block. So anyway, that was a little bit of teaching and talking before we get on. Let's actually put this into practice by looking at some of the questions. So I have a little warm-up activity for you here. And this one is simply asking, can you see from above the grey shape? Now, really important, from above means we're looking down. And what's going to matter here, if we just compare A and B, and I'm going to do A and B with you because I want to get you used to this style of question. And actually, guys, it's page 18 is where you'll find this, sorry, page 18. If we're looking from above, what you should hopefully notice is that here, there's a cube on top, but on top of this one, there's nothing. So if I was looking down, I would, without problem, be able to see the grey cube. So in this case, this is a strong yes, I can. But looking here at this grey cube, if I'm looking down, the first thing I see is this white cube. And so from the top down, there's no way to see this black cube, so you wouldn't be able to see it. And this is the other skill we're training today, along with the numbering. You'll see how it all fits together in a second with the example question. Can you visualize from different directions what you're able to see? So what I'd like you guys, there's 4 more questions. I've done the first 2 with you, and again, we're talking from this top-down perspective. You can see this grey cube, you can't see this cube. I want you guys please to have a go at C, D, E, and F, and then come back when you're ready for the answer. So again, pause the video here, and we'll go through it together when you're ready. Right, off you go. Okay, welcome back. Hopefully you're ready. So for this one here, can you see the grey cube? No, we cannot, because of this one is blocking. Can we see it from above here? Yes, we can, because there's nothing sitting on top. And the most important thing is, in terms of faces, it's really, can you see the top face? Yes, I can. Yes, I can. So for both of these, it's a yes. This one here, again, look, I can just see that top face poking out the back, so this would be a yes. And finally, this one here, if you look, there's no way for me to see that top face. That's hidden under a block. And so that's a no. So the answers are yes, no, no, yes, yes, no. I want you please guys to skip for me this warm-up. We're not going to use that. That'll be used in a later lesson. And we're now going to move on to actually try together questions 3 and 4. But before you try those questions, I want you to have a look at how I go about answering the example question. And this is where we're going to take together and apply some of those skills I had you training earlier, when we were just talking about how many blocks you can see, what the different variances for, how we count blocks, how we name blocks. And in fact, here are those rules. So we're going to apply them to this example. So turn to page 18 for me just now. But what I want to do is also just quickly run through the rules. So step 1, count the top face of each cube you can see. So you can see down here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I wouldn't actually write 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm sure your counting skills are quite good. Instead, what I would do is just do a little dot. So 1, 2, 3, 4. In this case, I also happen to have 4 faces from the top down we can see. So that is step 1. Count the face of each cube you can see. Step 2 then is to eliminate options that don't have the correct number of squares. What do I mean by that? Well, in this case, if we go back and look, we knew this had 4, so this one's only got 1, 2, 3, can be removed. And this one here that's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 can be removed. And hopefully you can see there that it's now really easy for us to access and to work out. It's certainly not those 2 options. Going back then, the 3rd step, so again we eliminated options with the wrong number of stairs based on that, good. Number 3, look for unique patterns and features. Hint, watch out for mirror images. Look for unique patterns and features. Well, this comes back to the skill I had you training earlier where we were talking about these being L-shaped blocks, T-shaped blocks, C-shaped blocks, whatever it may be. Well, what kind of shape is this? Well, it's an L shape, kind of reverse L shape really, and in fact I would probably call it a 4L shape. So is there any way I can see on here, well here's looks like some kind of L, and this would be I guess an S shape. I'm not quite sure if I have a label there, or a Z shape, or is it just probably because I liked Harry Potter growing up, I'd probably call that like the Harry Potter scar shape or something like that. Again, you're not going to be questioned on your labeling abilities. It's more, do you have a word? Do you have a way of explaining what shape it is? And certainly I can see that here, 1, 2, 3, 4 with the tail sticking out the side is not the same as my little scar shape. In fact, here, look, I've kind of sketched the L and sketched the L. And actually, I've said the word now 2 or 3 times, sketching the final emergency. I don't like you to do this straight away, but if you're really stuck, so emergency step 4 would be, if in doubt, sketch it out. And what do I mean by that? Well, I would literally go, so imagine you were really stuck, you hadn't quite worked out the 4, is I would just go face by face and say, okay, well, there's a face there, and it's connected to one other face, so there's a face there, then connected to another face, so a face there, and then this one down here is kind of on the left-hand side of this one, and now that you've actually drawn it, well, it's very, very easy, hopefully, to say, yep, those are the same. Now, just one thing I also mentioned, watch out for mirror images. Where did I say that? Watch out for images. Let me just show you what a mirror image would look like. So if I copied this and pasted it as a reflection, so these currently are exactly the same. See, although I can rotate it, and sometimes it won't make a difference, I can always rotate it back and make it overlap. But if through the powers of magic, I reflect this, let's do flip. Now look, this is a mirror image. You can see here's my mirror line down the middle. These are mirror images. Now watch what happens. If I overlap them, I get these tails sticking out, and no matter how much I rotate it and reposition, there's no way for these to be exactly the same. So this would be an example of a mirror image. So imagine we had these 2 as options. I'd have to just take the time really and think very carefully, is my shape this one or this one? And that's why considering is it an L or sort of a backwards L, and actually just sort of sketching out the rough shape is going to help you find the correct answer and not fall into the trap of the wrong answer. So hopefully that's clear. If you just want to, on here, I would recommend perhaps copying these notes down. I think how to do 3D plan view shapes. I've also called them bird's eye view shapes or top-down questions, or what do they label them here? Well, just 3D shapes, 2D and 3D shapes. But yeah, I'd recommend maybe just pausing here, copying this down again. You can see an example. Look, I've gone through and I've worked out and I've ticked the right one. I've eliminated the wrong ones that don't work and given reasons why. Before, I suppose, if in doubt, sketch it out. Little hint down there from before. But I'm going to ask you to pause the video here, guys, and do that just so we can then move on as and when you're ready. How to do plan view 3D questions. So now that you've got this copied, let's go on. I want you now, please, to do questions 3, 4, and 5 in the book. So 3, 4, and 5. Again, this is still on page 18. Still on page 18. Only 3 questions. And don't please move on to do those cubes and net questions. That is a topic for another week. I think in 2 or 3 weeks' time we'll be doing those. But just 3 questions, so it should take maybe a couple of minutes. And I would recommend please follow the steps. So I'd want to see lots of dottings and things and counting and to show that you're employing the steps. All right, guys, pause the video here, and I'll go through the answers when you're ready. All right, welcome back. So first things first, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to follow my own rules. I can see 5 shapes. So that means immediately 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's gone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's gone. And now here, I'm just looking for sort of distinguishing features. I might sort of sketch out that that's a C shape, and already now that leads me very strongly to think it's A. And I'm just going to think, yep, am I sure that there would be this here or here? Because I'm kind of comparing the difference between the two. Where should that cube be? And I can hopefully really clearly see, so I do it in red, that cube there I believe is wrong because there's like a gap between these two, and yet there's no gap here. So B is definitely wrong. So number 3, the answer is A. Hooray. Looking now then at number 4, again I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. So immediately this one is a goner and that one is a goner because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again between here I'm just looking for identifying features. Again, if you look here along that line, right there, I can see that these two are connected at the base. If I was doing my sketching, I would start with this one, then that one connected. It's got one connected above it and one connected above it. So you can actually see this is the same kind of outline as our first example was, making the answer C, not A. Again, in order for A to work, this cube would have to be in sort of this space here that's in green. In order for this to work, that line there would have to be that line there. You can see there's nothing there, so it's definitely not that. Looking at number 5, again, really simple. We love these questions because they very quickly get to 50-50s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, could be that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, thank goodness it was worth doing. I at least got rid of one of them. And again, sometimes you're lucky, you'll get rid of all of them. Sometimes you get rid of one of them, but that's a start. So I've done my counting. Now I'm going to look for features. Well, I mean, there's a couple of things to do. You can see, for example, this is how you split up. I can see there's an L shape here with a one dot off the side. So there's like an L shape with sort of like a one dot off the side. I tend to draw them as lines. I know some people also like to actually do the cubes. If you prefer the cubes, by all means sketch them as cubes. Of course, the obvious downside is that takes longer than this, but hopefully you can see here because I'm sort of connecting those bits there to make that L shape. So again, now immediately I can see that C, just based off that little bit that I've sketched, isn't going to work because I've not got 2 here. I've only got the 1. So this cube here is unnecessary, so I can get rid of C. And then between these two here, I've just got to think very carefully. I've got 1, 2, 3, 1. And the only two I can think is these two here in a row, so we sort of like 1 there. So this kind of matches there. So it's a bit like this and this. I'm not sure, I'd probably draw that like this. If you got 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2. And if you look here, there's that, and there's up here, or there's that, and here. And hopefully you can see from my sketch, B is the much closer of the two because of this cube being in the correct position, as was on our sketch. And as you can see, there needs to be a gap this side and a gap that side, and A does not have the gap there, which is why it's not A. So again, I may have overanalyzed this a little bit. You might have spotted the answer very easily. But again, just to show you some of the methods you might use, some of the sketches, the lines you can draw, the things you can be saying to yourself, oh, look, there's a 3 and a 2 and a 1, or there's a 3 and a 2 and a 1, counting the totals, just to sort of highlight how I'd go through. And although these questions are quite easy, they can be quite challenging. And we're going to do some questions in a moment that are a little harder, and we'll see how those go now. In fact, let's do that now. So hopefully that was 3 out of 3, or you can now get 3 out of 3 with the explanation help. I'm now going to ask you please to turn to page 50. Let me just clean those up. Sorry, page 60, apologies, page 60 and 61. And again, I've just sort of summarized the hints there just so you can reference them if you need to. So basically it's count, then eliminate, label, and that's what I mean by sort of saying, oh, well, there's an L or 3L or a T. Label, then eliminate based on that, and then finally sketch it and eliminate based on that. So count, eliminate, label, eliminate, sketch, eliminate. The important thing, please, guys, is I want to see lots of elimination for these, lots and lots and lots. This is now actually page 60 and 61, guys. It's both pages, and I believe it goes up to a total of, yes, 8 questions. So make a start for that now, and then when you're ready, we'll go through the answers together. Okay, then everybody, welcome back. Let's run through the answers. So looking now at the example, first off, there was another backward L. So there's our backward L. Now for number 1, again, I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, and I can see it's a T shape. So here, between these two T shapes, I want it to be the 4T shape. So definitely the answer is C for number 1. Number 2, again, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So immediately that eliminates these two options. And between these two, again, if I'm looking, this is sort of the Harry Potter scar type shape. And here's my scar shape, whereas B, again, is an upside down T, so not B. This one here, again, I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So immediately all the 4s can go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6s can go. But between these two here, hopefully you can see, I'll do it in blue, this actually creates a plus shape. But that's the best way of drawing it. Come on, you. Separate for me. Ah! Come back. Right. There you go. Makes a bit like a plus shape because these kind of go across and across. And that's actually your answer there. The cross in D. Again, that C shape there wouldn't have this cube. I think it's perhaps the easiest way to spot it. Number 4. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This has only got 4. This has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This one's got 5, but if you look, that's very clearly sort of a big L shape, a 1, 2, 3, 4, that would be a 5L shape. As we see in B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's far too much going on all odds and sides. So here we've got 1, 2, 3, that little one there, 4, 5, 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 could be that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 can't be that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 can't be that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 could be that. So now it's between these two. So again, now let's look for features and shapes. So this has kind of got a line of 2 and an L, maybe that's the kind of pattern I'm looking for. And here, look, I can see I've got a line of 3, and actually at the back there, if you look, I do have that going up and across to make an L. So the answer here is A, if I was to sort of label the two. Not as easy to draw, so again, maybe you're sketching it out, and again, just look for, break it up into little chunks. So there's one feature mixed with another to make your pattern. Again here, the problem is that middle cube, and there's nothing in that middle space there. So this is taking up what should be that empty space in my picture. Okay, so just to be clear, the answer is A. Now looking at these ones, 6, 7, and 8. So again, I'm always going to start with counting. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nope. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, well, still we got rid of 1. But now, again, I'm looking at for features. I can already see that these two need to be separated by a gap of 2, because look, there's a gap and there's a gap. So that gap's not big enough. Neither is that gap. That needs to be separated by 2. There doesn't seem to be a gap here because these are in the same line. So B is very much wrong, which means D has to be the answer. And look, there's my gap of 2. And if I was also looking for features, I might notice that this pattern here makes kind of a 3L shape. And there's my 3L shape that shows up with the 2 1s on either side. So that's how it kind of overlaps. Number 7, bit of a tricky one here. Watch out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But we're not going to count this 7th one in here. Why are we not going to count that? Because look, this cube's on top and we'll block it. So you're not just counting the faces, you're only counting the faces that are showing to the sky, to the top-down view. So hopefully no one fell for that trick. So now based on the count, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, can't be that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So again, we got rid of 1. Again, look, I'm spotting a gap of 2. So there's a gap of 2. I like that. But I don't like B because it's not a gap of 2. And also, this one's below that one. So this cube needs to be lower. So it's not B. The T we've already eliminated. And this one here, I mean, I like this sort of L-shaped pattern. I can see there's an L shape there. But again, look, there's this gap of 2. And that is quite clearly a gap of 1. And yeah, I could fit 2 cubes. I could fit a cube along there. And a cube to a different colour along there. Which is exactly what this offers. So number 7, my answer is A. Not that one. And then last but not least, number A, and again, this is where for me really jumps out really quickly. Look, there's a definite T shape I can see. There's a little 1 and there's a little 2. So right off the bat, I might be tempted on this one to jump for a T shape, a 2, and a 1. Hopefully you can see that. Again, sorry, I could have counted, of course. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that would have got rid of this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Got rid of one of them. But then between these two, well, first off, there's no T shape that's missing. And also, that, I think the point is they've got that cube in the wrong space for B. And this one here, goodness knows what's going on. They don't have the two height that we need at the top. We don't have the T shape, so C is even worse. So it's definitely not C. And that's it done. So guys, give yourself a score out of 8. Don't worry about the total out of a test. We'll do over the course of the week the entire book really, and so the tests will be finished. You can give yourself a score eventually, but for now we're focusing on it bit by bit. But very well done. If you got more than 6 out of 8 correct in the time, I'm really pleased with that. I think that'll be a good score to aim. If you didn't get them, that's fine. I suggest rubbing it out, leaving it a few days, and coming back to it and seeing if a bit more progress has been made. And just in summary, here are the answers if you wanted to read them off. Doing really well, guys. So we're doing the last exercise now. The last exercise is going to be on page 84. Page 84. And for this, it's really just more of the same, but again, another chance to get some practice. So there's another 8 questions. Again, take as long as you need. Sort of 8 minutes, 1 minute a question would be about right. But if you need to take longer, absolutely feel free to take longer. But again, your goal, your target is not speed, but currently it is accuracy. Get the best score you possibly can. Right, everyone, off you go. I'll be back here ready for answers, or with answers when you are ready. Okie dokie, so here it comes. So we've got here, right off the bat, I can see that is what I would call a 5T shape. And right here, there's my 5T shape. But equally, if I wanted to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that lets me eliminate maybe a couple of options. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. Oh, no, actually, no, in this one, a bit meaner. The counting doesn't help, so we had to rely on features. But again, whether you're saying it's a 1 and a 2, sorry, a 3 and a 2, so 3 across, 2 across, that's fine. I think that one you could probably get there, though, just from the fact that it was a classic T shape. Number 2, this one here, we got a line of 2, a line of 2, and a 1. So I'm looking for a line of 2, a line of 2, and a 1, making D the answer. This one here, I've got my classic little Harry Potter zigzag with a 1 on the side. So I'm looking now, can I find my Harry Potter zigzag? There it is. There's a zigzag with a 1 on the side. So making B my answer. So I'm sort of speeding up now and showing you some of the more how I would approach these questions in terms of little sketching that I would do, still counting, but maybe not just doing so in my head, and getting the answers more rapidly. Again, it's still worth considering, especially if there's time left over, which you'll all have. Why is each of these wrong? Can you prove to me what's wrong with this? Yep, this is in the wrong position. What's wrong with this? This is in the wrong position. What's wrong with this one here? It's not long enough, so you'd need to have a cube sort of on this side at the very least, or maybe a bit lower. In fact, you'd probably need a cube. Well, there's quite a few things wrong with this one. This shape's wrong, that bit's wrong, that bit's wrong. There's quite a lot going on. So, number 4, what am I noticing? I'm noticing sort of a plus shape here with a hole in the middle. The hole in the middle is really important, so that's got a hole in the middle. That's got a hole in the middle, but B does not have a hole where it needs to be. And I want 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of in a plus shape, but with the hole. Well, there, look. There's my plus shape, but with the hole. And I've got 1 filling in the top right corner. There's my 1 filling in the top right corner, so that makes C, I'm quite confident, is my answer. But again, you might just want to think about why. Count the number of shapes. Again, this one's actually quite a good one for counting because it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this here, look, it's got far too many. This one here, far too many. And this one here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, far too many. So sorry, this was one where just by counting, you could have got the answer straight away, as long as you didn't count that empty middle slot. Now, looking at this one here, a bit of a tricksy one, number 5. We've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. This space here, though, I think would be in shadow, because look, it's connecting up here and connecting up here. I think these two are in line with each other. So I don't think you'd see this green square, which means you're looking for a 2 and a 2, slightly offset. And look here, 2 and a 2. And that secret green cube is hiding underneath that one. Not that we can see it. So number 5, a bit harder. D is your answer. Hopefully you didn't fall for the trap. Number 6, looking at this one here, well, I can see, again, I've got an L shape there and a straight line there. So I'm looking for some combination of L shape and straight line. And there you go, look in B, L shape in a straight line. Although let me just check, do I agree with the positioning? Yes, I think I do. So I think that makes 6B is my answer. Again, there's 1, 2, 3 in a straight line, and there's that L shape. So yeah, L shape in your straight line. That's where I'm getting these pictures from. Number 7, a few ways of doing this. You can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's got far too many. That's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's got the right amount. That's got 7. That's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So again, this is one where we could work out the answer just by counting, but also in terms of identifying features, I can see that these 3 here would actually make a straight line, which is my straight line here. And I've got this kind of zigzag C pattern based in there. That's another way of answering it. And then number 8, let's just do a quick count. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Can't be that one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe. It's a shame. Only got one elimination, but still, one elimination is good progress. And now then, let's look for some features. So I've got in one thing on its own in the top corner. So the C is gone because look, it's not on its own. It's got that cube there. So now looking between these two, well, I can see that these two are in a line with each other and this one's dropping out the bottom. So I should have the right-hand side dropping lower, exactly like I do in D, but not like I do in B. Look, this cube here should not be there. Cross that out. And if I was again considering Y or looking for patterns, oh, here's a nice one actually. These 4 in a row make a run of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I need to have a run of 4 here. And again, I've got a bit like this dot here in reverse. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That kind of reverse C shape. That's what we're getting here. Hopefully you can see those match up quite nicely. And again, just to show you, here are your answers, in case you wanted to see them written down. And these answers, guys, are available at the back of the book, and they're quite nice, so they're worth reading if you want a bit more clarification. Okay, everybody. Well, that is brilliant. Really well done. Thank you so much for paying attention with those. Hopefully those were clear. Again, I really enjoy these questions, and I think the more you practice them, the more you will also come to enjoy them. We will do more practice, those don't you worry. And again, 3D questions, just being able to visualize. Some of the other tips. Next week I'm going to teach you how to draw cubes and things, actually do a bit of cube art. That'll help sort of get you in that mindset of seeing 3D shapes. But do try and have fun with these ones because they're very puzzly, which is wonderful. Before I let you go, of course, I've got to just remind you, of course, the homework now. It's the week 1 homework for both the verbal reasoning and the non-verbal reasoning. If I didn't mention that for the VR, please do both. So it should be this sheet and a green sheet of the same. Do the week 1 homework as best you can. And then as well as that, a bit of fun as we're going into Christmas. Billy's Creative Christmas. Here's a bit of a competition for us. I think we'll have it. The closing date will be the end of the year, but please feel free to get involved. Submit a story to us at the office, and we'll mark it, and potentially you'll win a voucher, a delivery book, and some lovely prizes, which is really exciting. So please do, guys, get involved. Only other thing I wanted to say, of course, is thank you so much for coming. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. And if you are coming to the centre this next week, before you've got one more time for one more lesson, please do feel free to come in some fantastic Christmas jumpers or Rudolph noses, or I've seen some amazing sort of Santa hats and things. Any some sort of Christmas tree decorations, feel free to dress yourself up. You have a nice tinsel scarf. We'd love to see you in the centres nicely dressed up. So if that's something that interests you, please do get involved. Right, everyone, but that is enough for me now. Thanks so much for your time, and I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye, everybody.